They were born into the wrong sex. Let's not pretend that this is anything else. You don't need to apologise. You've done nothing wrong. These people are fucking cancer. And honestly, if I were to speculate, I would say it's probably something to do with the fact that women have more life choices than men. They can either work, or they can get married, or they can do other things. And these are not things that men have the option of. Why would you want some fucking gender ideologue and presumably communist? Why would you want their fucking opinion on this? I'm so sorry. Maybe you should just victimize white men. They are the problem, after all. You listen to Nazis talk about Jews, and neo-Nazis talk about Jews, and they will say something like, the Jew screams out in pain as he strikes you. And I'm sorry, but how is this not that? He's clearly someone who's just looking at the actual writing on the wall and thinking, well, shit, I can see where this train goes. That was an Auschwitz joke. Well, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Maybe you should just victimize white men. They are the problem, after all, aren't they? Maybe you should get white men to just, straight white men, to walk around with a little gold star on their chest, just in case you know they're not biracial, or gay, or bisexual, or trans, or something like that. No. The straight white men can just wear that little yellow star. Would that make you feel better? Just so everyone can know who the privileged people are.
Yes, YouTube personality Sargon of Akkad, a guy with hundreds of thousands of subscribers, has been on a kick recently calling the left progressives Nazis. He's saying that there's no difference between progressives and Hitler. Yeah, because Hitler and the Nazis were totally into diversity. Hitler loved multiculturalism. He was totally into minority rights. He would have welcomed Syrian refugees with open arms. He would have loved to have Latino immigrants even, to migrate into Germany. Oh, let's not forget, Hitler was a big proponent of gay rights. He would have been for trans rights and gay rights. Yeah, and he was a big feminist too, because feminism is all about women staying in the home and taking care of children and not getting jobs. Yeah, so Kevin Logan, a guy who I really respect, made a video about this earlier this week. And he was talking about how Sargon hasn't done this in a while. Well, actually, Sargon has done it quite recently. And I can't blame Kevin. Kevin is just like me. He only has so much time during the day. Here's a tweet from back in August of last year, where he called Twitter the Stasi, which the Stasi was the German secret communist police, which is pretty hilarious when you see the little Twitter thing down there with the Nazi armband on. Actually, the communists, the Stasi, had nothing to do with the Nazis. The Stasi was after the Nazis. So right there, that's really ahistorical and downright stupid. So I hope you're asking yourself, you're wondering why Sargon was complaining, why he is saying that the left were just like Nazis. And he kept stressing over and over again that these jobs should go to the hardest working people. Which, I don't know, from my experience, I've seen that jobs mainly go to the people who kiss the most ass, to tell you the truth. But anyway, let's watch a little clip and see what he's complaining about.
Yes, you won't work harder to get there. You will use social pressure. You will use activism. You will not earn it. You will demand it as if you deserve it, which you don't. At least not on the basis that you are women or non-white. You deserve it when you have the work under your belt, when you are holding the diplomas and you have a great CV full of accomplishments that you can show and say, I am the best person for this job. You don't need to look at my skin colour and you don't need to look at my junk. You need to look at what it says on paper about me. What I have achieved. For the love of God, why is this such a difficult subject? Well, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Maybe you should just victimize white men. They are the problem, after all, aren't they?
Honestly, listening to this video, he kept talking about how, and supposedly some other guy said this, but white men are going to have to work twice as hard. And honestly, I know a lot of white guys from rich families who they work half as hard as everyone else, and they get twice as much. So if they worked twice as hard as they do now, they would work just as hard as anyone else. And I mean, all this stuff is so complicated. And, you know, people, whether you're a poor white guy or a rich black guy, we all have our own cross to bear. And some people in society have it easier than others. We're not all equal in society. I wish that we were. I wish that everyone would treat each other as equals. I mean, I try to treat everyone as equals. But I thought I would leave with a few clips. You know, I could throw... The reason why I'm throwing up all these statistics here is for you to make a decision on this stuff. It's for you to, you know, come to your own conclusion. But I'm going to leave this discussion with a clip of some comments that were made by people back in the days of the civil rights movement.
Cicero is an industrial town. It doesn't mind that Negroes work in the factories there. 15,000 of them do. And they trade at Cicero banks and supermarkets. But not a single Negro family sleeps in Cicero. Not one spends the night. I asked some workers why.
Because they don't know the Negro, that's why.
How do you mean?
Well, they think their value of their property goes down, and the majority of them feel that we're dirty, and they are afraid, that's all.
And they talk about violence, too. What about some of those criticisms, that the Negro is dirty, that the Negro is more violent, therefore the Negro doesn't make as good a neighbor?
Well, that's because they have never given the Negro the chance. They don't know it, the Negro, I tell you. If they would stay long enough, the Negro is not dirty.
There are many good colors, and I worked with some of them, and I liked them, and I liked this person that I said works at the lounge over there. But there's the ones that are going to march I don't like, and I can't stand, I got no use for.
And when your church tells you human rights, and you pay no attention to your church?
I pay attention to my church when they say about human rights, but what the marchers want, they don't want rights. They say they want peaceful coexistence. How can they have peaceful coexistence when there's all this trouble?
Who makes the trouble?
They do, by marching. There's got to be a simpler way.
What simpler way can you think of?
Talks. Just talks.
Well, there are human rights commissions in various towns around Chicago, none in Cicero.
They can make them.
You think they should?
They should. I just think that there has got to be a better way than marches, because there's no use for them.
If, let's say, 10 or 20 families moved into Cicero, which is a town of 70,000,
they'd get killed.
We have to move to a position where we can control the housing in our neighborhoods so that we're not exploited, so that we're not charged high rents to share apartments with rats, and so that the owners of those apartments don't live in the suburbs grabbing the profits from us, that we're able to grab it, and that the money will be able to stay in our community so we can develop it.
how would you feel about Negroes moving in here to Cicero?
Well, I really don't know, but some Negroes are clean and some aren't, and if they move in on this block and they're clean, I would play with them.